Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about co-design for culture and systems change. And this is following on from the sessions this morning. What we really wanted to do was talk about this and can pick up this theme of engagement, this real key to understanding and working with rather than for communities. And so that's the real theme of this discussion. And please do, as we go through, please pop questions, comments, ideas, books, links into the chat. We would really love to sort of hear your perspectives on these themes. So I actually just wanted to start with a personal story. My daughter's sixth birthday just passed. It was very exciting. I don't know about you all, but the air somehow feels really different on your birthday when you're a kid, and there's something kind of joyful about that. Um, but what's interesting is that when I kind of flash these words on the screen, sixth birthday party, a whole range of images subconsciously went floating through all of your minds, referencing the culture you live in now, maybe combined with the culture or the family or the religious traditions of your own childhood. And in my daughter's community, the form factor of a sixth birthday party is almost predetermined. Um, Kids arrive, there's a gift table, there's some white bread sandwiches for the kids, some brown bread sandwiches to show off to the adults. It's hosted after lunch, but before dinner. It's almost definitely not a meal. Um, an entertainer shows up, maybe a bouncy castle or just a total free-for-all in a community hall. Wherever we could kind of find some space in London. Definitely not at home. Maybe we play musical statues, pass the parcel, cake, party bags, huge exhale. You say to your family or your friend, or if you have a partner, was that all right? Um, So form should really follow purpose. What was the purpose of that gathering? Beyond the sort of practical, where will it be? What time will it be? How long will a sandwich stay fresh in the fridge? Did we really think through the sort of intent or the design of that gathering of people? Whether we're sort of intentional or not, the message here is that everything is designed. And so often things and experiences are designed not based on intent, but based on what's been done before, the form factor that we know of as a sixth birthday party or whatever it is that you're designing. And when we say design, we mean more than how something looks. We mean how something feels, the experience, the journey, the takeaway, and critically, the outcome that stems from that design. So what if we sort of asked ourselves different questions when we come to designing a thing, an experience, or a gathering? Looking back at the birthday party, how should we mark the end of one year and the beginning of another? Are there rituals that are important to us, to our child? Do we want to involve, do we even want to involve others? What are the key moments from, the invitation to the arrival to the cake? How can we design those moments really intentionally that stem back to the outcome or the intention that we have? What message does the gathering that we've created, in this case, a birthday party, send to our children and about what we value? And is this something that we're looking to replicate year on year, or is this something that's specific to this year? It's really interesting when you step back and consider the choices that you're making, the design decisions that you're making. Are we being intentional? Design is the first signal of human intention. That's what architect and designer William McDonough said many years ago, and what absolutely inspires my practice as a designer. And so my sort of challenge, the reason I bring this to you today is this sort of challenge to you all, and what I sort of hope you sit back and reflect on as we cover the role of design in physical literacy, is to think, what is our intention? If you're part of an education team in a school or right up to the policy level, what experiences are you trying to create for children and young people? How do the sum of those many experiences, we talked about moments, and there was a good discussion in the chat about moments. and Emma's session during the panel. Um, how do the sum of those many experiences add up to a physical literacy informed approach? Enjoyment, meaning, value. If you're a developer, a planner, how are you understanding the needs, motivations, and behaviors of citizens to design intentional environments or procure intentional equipment? If you're involved in community sport, is your intention to eke out a handful of elite athletes, or is it to inspire a lifelong love of movement and physical activity? Thinking not just about the physical, but also how people connect, think, and feel during movement, physical activity that play such a crucial, crucial role. So I just wanted to give you a quick moment, just a quick pause to think about the intention that you have in your role, in your organization, in your family, in your space, in your community. Think about the intention that you have to support children and young people. Um, and maybe just jot down a couple of words and before we move on, or if you'd like in the chat. Great, thank you. So I'll give you a moment to just have a look at this image as well. Um, and just because we talk about design-led approaches, design-informed approaches, just because you take a design-led or a design-informed approach doesn't mean you actually get the outcome you're looking for every time. So this was designed. It clearly didn't work. We've all seen images like this. These are called desire lines or desire paths. Um, can a truly design-led approach get us to ask ourselves, what are we not seeing? Where are the gaps in our knowledge? How can we be curious, inclusive, and person-centered? Can we identify patterns or behaviors in complex systems? And when we make some of these discoveries, can we be really nimble and scrappy and prototype early solutions together to see how they might make an impact? That's the sort of core of design, is not just identifying or observing behaviors or needs. It's about turning those responding to those behaviors or needs with a prototype, with something that people can see and respond to. It's this type of design thinking, being ultra intentional, unwaveringly inclusive, that will help us uncover the root of so many systemic challenges. Um, so with that, I want to invite you all to take part in a really quick activity. You just need a piece of paper and a pen. And I'm going to give you 1 minute to design a vase. So this is your creation. It can be simple or ornate, whatever you'd like. Just draw, you have 1 minute to draw a vase on a sheet of paper. So I'll give you that 1 minute now. It's your design. Okay, does anybody want to be brave and hold up a picture of their vase? Let's see if you've got a background. We're going to kind of lose it there. Okay, let's see some vases. Some usually have to hide your face. There we go. Okay, so we've got some patterned vases, some crisscross shapes, flashbacks to Key Stage 2 art. Yes, good. Okay, some wavy lines. I like the sort of fluted vases. Those are nice. Great. Okay. Thank you for that. So, what's the intention of this activity? So, what if I actually changed the challenge? So, flipping the challenge, you all drew a vase. I asked you to draw a vase. That's what the brief said, design a vase. But what if I asked you a different question? What if I asked you to design a way for people to enjoy flowers in their home? Completely changing the challenge. So, I'm going to give you 1 more minute think about the outcome that we're trying to create. The outcome we're trying to create is for people to enjoy flowers in their home. What's another way that you could do that? You've got 1 minute. Let's see what you come up with. Okay, let's see. How can people enjoy? Okay, we've got some flowers hanging from the ceiling. Katie, were those flowers coming out of a light fixture? No.
I feel I need to explain mine. I saw it on online and someone, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it, so please don't go away and ruin your toilets, but they had put toilets in the water of the cistern at the top.
Okay. Yes, flowers coming out of the toilet. Yep, good way to water them. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so it's really interesting how flipping the brief can really change our perspective, can really change the thing that we create, the experience that we create. Now, this is all about design, right? So design is rooted in established methodology. There's endless approaches to do design. If you Googled design approaches, you'll get frameworks, more frameworks than you know what to do with. But this is probably the most common design framework used. It's the UK Design Council's Double Diamond framework. Discover, define, develop, deliver. So you first start with the problem, understanding and gathering insight into the problem. You diverge and look at all of the insights that you've gathered, all the understanding of that context in order to focus down on a design brief. So you wouldn't start with design a vase. You would start with how can we help people enjoy flowers in the home? And what I love about this framework is that it helps you see that problem definition really happens not at the start of the project, but once you've gathered a deeper understanding of people. Now, for some people, organizations, or teams, an established methodology is useful. So this one gives you 4 distinct phases to follow. But what I really want to caution is that I'm not proposing we all go out and use the Design Council's Double Diamond framework. There's so much diversity in this room, in this virtual room that we have here today, and how we work and where we work and who we work with is vast. And so there is no real one size fits all approach to design. But the thing about a framework is that it often just gets you started. So this is a good one to get started. It's a good one to set you off on a course of understanding the context of the people that you're designing for. And so, but what I am sort of proposing is that you explore physical literacy informed approaches today as you think hard about truly reaching underserved and less active children and young people, that you employ these two kind of interconnected mindsets that we bring about in design. So everybody on the Patrick program will be sick of hearing me bang on about empathy and prototyping. But they're really, really important practices in design. So what do we mean by empathy? Here's an image of I was sat in the passenger seat with the wonderful Ree, a district nurse in South London. We were working to understand how nurses in the healthcare context support people in their homes day in and day out. And I could have called Ree. I could have sent her a survey. I could have asked her a series of questions, but we never would have really seen the full extent of her work, the full extent of how her car is just as much of a tool for her as her glucometer, as her electronic health record. And so when we say empathy, we mean really getting out there. I loved the comments during the panel about, thinking really intentionally about the context with which we're asking questions and how is that going to change what we're hearing. So really understanding the context of people's lives, be that the children and young people you're engaging with, their families or support networks, or indeed the workforce. And prototyping is really just the practice of trying things out quickly, testing it out with people. You all did it with your drawings of your vase. When you make a prototype, you're transforming an abstract idea into something tangible, and you all of a sudden reveal these hidden assumptions that people can react to. You expose flaws early, and it frees you up to kind of prioritize what actually matters to the people who will engage with your idea in the end. So by enabling real user reactions, like actually speaking with people, sharing with them what you've come up with, whether that's a quick, scrappy leaflet or a physical prototype, it helps it helps sort of ensure that you're building the right thing, not just building things right. And so what I love about this image in particular is that this was just a scrappy leaflet. Here you're seeing a volunteer we were working with feeding back on a prototype that we created for a community coaching program. Just a quick idea made tangible is all that you need to get feedback on. And so what's absolutely amazing about these two mindsets, the empathy and the prototyping, is that the actual process of doing design can become the product, can become the initiative, the program, what you're working on. And so the buzzword of all buzzwords around this work is co-design. And we really wanted to break that down a little bit today. At the end of the day, it's really just about involving people meaningfully in the process of change. It's about building purposeful relationships that share power between everyone involved in the creation of something new. And so we'll talk a little bit more about some of those specific principles that make up real, thoughtfully informed co-design processes. But I really just wanted to break it down to say that it's about meaningfully involving people in the work that you're doing. So here's what that can look like in action. Our Think Public team worked with the Alzheimer's Society to identify opportunities for improving the lives of people living with dementia. So we ran co-design events with people living with dementia and stakeholders to prioritize areas of need. So this resulted in people pointing out the need for better support post-diagnosis. To help them kind of plan and support and develop plans for the future of their care. So we trained people to actually capture stories of each other. And everybody got a director's kit to film a day in the life. And the man on the left is a person living with dementia. And using these films and ideas from co-design, the Alzheimer's Society campaigned the Department of Health to then change policy. And it was the voices that people living with dementia captured and developed themselves that ended up leading to policy change and creating the National Dementia Advisor Service, which still runs today. And so the process of running a co-design process becomes the product in the end. And so I'd like to bring kind of all of these ideas together, the combination of intentionality in design, empathy and prototyping mindsets, and the sort of how of putting physical literacy informed approaches into practice. And to do that, I'd like to sort of use a slightly ridiculous but highly relevant story about spaghetti sauce. And so this, if you bear with me, this story comes from Malcolm Gladwell and his incredible TED Talk, aptly titled On Spaghetti Sauce, where he talks about the importance of variety and diversity. And so I'm going to sort of summarize the talk and apply it to our design and physical literacy context here today, but I do really recommend that you give it a full watch. And so in the talk, Gladwell shares the story of this guy, Howard Moskowitz. And Moskowitz is credited with reinventing spaghetti sauce. So I'll set the scene. It's the early 1980s in the United States, and Campbell's Soup Company hires Moskowitz to help its struggling brand of pasta sauce called Prego, the one on the left. So Campbell's made Prego, and Prego in the early 80s was struggling as a brand next to Ragu, which was the dominant spaghetti sauce of the 70s and 80s in the United States. And so you can even just look at the image here. Prego was clearly the far superior sauce. Apparently, the tomato paste was a higher quality and greater concentration, which meant it actually adhered to pasta much more than what looks like on the right, a very thin and watery ragu. And so just despite the fact that it was this far superior product, Prego was struggling. So Moskowitz is given this challenge. What does he do? He gets together with the Campbell's Soup Company test kitchen and makes 45 varieties of spaghetti sauce. 40, like, think about 45 bowls of spaghetti sauce on your kitchen counter right now. It's a lot of sauce. And he varied them in every conceivable way that you could vary tomato sauce: sweetness, garlickiness, tomatoiness, tartness, sourness, something called visible solids, every possible variation of sauce. And Gladwell describes how Moskowitz then took all 45 spaghetti sauces to New York, Chicago, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, and sat people down in these really big halls and gave them each 10 bowls of pasta with a different spaghetti sauce on each one. And after they ate each bowl, they had to rate from 0 to 100 how good they thought the spaghetti sauce was. So, getting to the point, if I gave us all this challenge, what the majority of us would probably do is test out all 45 bowls of pasta, just like Moskowitz did, tally up the survey results, and then look at the data. We would sort of plot the data on a bell curve, maybe retest the winning 3 or 4 spaghetti sauces, and then pick that one that satisfied the most people and bring that one to market. But Moskowitz didn't do this. He did bring back the data to Campbell's Soup Company, and he did highlight that a large proportion of people really liked chunky spaghetti sauces. But the data was so scattered that it barely gave them a North Star. So what did he do? He simply told Campbell's Soup Company that there is no perfect spaghetti sauce. There are only perfect spaghetti sauces. And so fast forward to today, as Gladwell describes, there's at least 36 varieties of Prego. There's cheese, light, robusto, rich and hearty, old world, traditional, extra chunky garden. The list goes on and on and on. And so you might be thinking, why does this matter to us? Like, what's the point here? Well, if you sort of step back, the physical literacy consensus statement for England tells us that our relationship with movement and physical activity throughout life is highly personal. Everyone has their own strengths, needs, circumstances, and past experiences that affect their relationship with movement and physical activity. This conference is themed around putting physical literacy into practice. And when we sort of looked at this story and we look at the practices of design, we sort of reflected that maybe there is no perfect physical literacy informed approach. Maybe the way that we interpret the consensus statement for one community, for one geography, for one person will differ from that of the next. And so responding to this variety and diversity, this requires a deep understanding of people's needs, motivations, and behaviors. That's the empathic design mindset that we use in the design process. It requires getting out there and co-designing with people rather than for people. And when we talk about co-design, we talk about creating mutually beneficial relationships, sharing power in decision-making, prioritizing a relationship-based approach, using participatory means so that everybody involved can take part, and building the capacity of communities to be involved in the decisions that affect them. And then it requires going and making those 45 varieties of spaghetti sauce in a potentially shared kitchen that brings people together and tests out what works for them. And so at the end of the day, maybe there is no perfect physical literacy. There are only perfect physical literacies, just as Moskowitz learned about spaghetti sauce. And so to kind of close, I think I just wanted to share that when we look at a framework for design and you step back and look at a framework for involvement, it looks very structured and it looks like there's a clear path ahead. But actually, this stuff really takes time. I think, talk to you'll hear from the Patchwork Program Cohort 1. This work is slow. This work takes time. When you truly invest in co-design relationships, when you think beyond sending out a survey or running a focus group to extract insights, it, when you really invest, it doesn't just help you understand someone's context, it also gives you the structure and relationships that are necessary to embed a new way of doing things. This kind of work can also be really messy when we actually listen, when we really share the power in developing new ideas. We have to then wrestle with the perspectives that we weren't expecting to hear. And that can be super messy when it comes to predefined funding and the rules around that funding or an expected project plan. But really listening can throw a lot of those plans out the window. It can also be emotional work. And this is a word we often try and bake out of research and policy. Co-design is emotional work, and everyone participating is opening themselves up, creating relationships, sharing perspectives. How do we handle that? How do we support our teams to handle that? But if we take a truly co-design approach to putting physical literacy informed approaches into practice, you can seriously transform what and how you deliver. And this can transform the lives of the people that you're serving. So last slide, what do we do now? Consider the intention of the project, program, initiative, or place you're working on really deeply. Think back to that 6th birthday party. Develop those relationships to build not only the understanding, but also the foundations for new ideas to take root. Take from the designer's toolkit. There's lots about this online. The empathy and the prototyping mindsets. It can feel different from how you might usually work, where we feel maybe everything needs to be right. And this is real permission to experiment. And jump onto those physical literacy assets to get you started. We shared the link in the chat. We'd love to hear how you get on. positiveexperiencescollective.org. And finally, our big insight from the Patchwork Program is the value of this community. The people on this call now, you're a part of it. And in the afternoon, you're going to have a chance to hear from a whole range of physical literacy informed approaches and discuss what's on your heart and mind related to these approaches in our listening circles. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Lenny, and thank you everyone for your energy this morning. So I just wanted to do a quick shout out before we close for lunch. I just wanted to say thank you to the facilitators of the morning movement sessions. Thank you for Charlie and all the panelists. And also Lenny for your stories. It always makes everyone smile how he goes off on a tangent and amazingly connects it back into these stories that actually we can kind of nudge something in our minds and maybe take forward into different places. The storytelling is such a big part of creating change. So yes, thank you all again for joining this morning. Don't forget to join at 2 o'clock in the subgroups. We have some emails going out to remind you which ones you've signed up for. But you can also see the links on the website and in your diary invites too if you suddenly decide you want to change sessions. And yeah, so now's time for lunch. We'll pause for an hour. Maybe you want to get outside. It's pretty nice outside where I am, and have your lunch and maybe have a little walk. And we'll see you in an hour at 2 o'clock. Take care. Thank you.